Jerry Jones, Cowboys owner, does a weekly hit on 105.3 The Fan, obviously in Dallas. And, of course, he likes going on that. He loves to make headlines. Well, he didn't appreciate – keep in mind the Cowboys not good. They're coming off an embarrassing loss against the Lions. Losing to the Lions is not embarrassing, but the way they lost to the Lions was embarrassing. They absolutely got their ass kicked. It's as simple as that. But apparently the host of the program was asking and being very critical of some of the decisions made by Jerry Jones in the offseason and lack thereof moves in the offseason. Jerry Jones got a little upset and said that your job isn't to let me go over all the reasons that I did something. That's not your job. I'll get somebody else to ask these questions. I'm not kidding.
There you go, Jerry. In the last 4 games in Dallas, the Cowboys have been outscored 110-35 in the first half. So maybe people should be asking Jerry what he's doing about his job. Because, look, he said before the season that he was going all in to win. He was focused on winning this season, and it seemed like at the end of the offseason, he lived up to that finally after kind of dragging his feet all offseason, locking down CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott. But I guess poor play from Dak Prescott has affected CeeDee Lamb. Can't necessarily blame him, but you still have Micah Parsons on the docket to be extended. They don't look great this year. The defense is abysmal. The offense can't really move the ball. The running game is terrible, and a guy that you said you had no interest in bringing in, and Derrick Henry is leading the league in everything. So I don't think it can look much worse for Jerry Jones right now. I think he wants nothing more than one more championship, and it certainly doesn't look like this current roster's one to get it. So I don't know where he goes from here.
When was the last Super Bowl that the Dallas Cowboys won?
95, right?
95? It was against the Bills, right?
I believe so.
That was the last one. Man, woo!
He bought an
Tough
NFL.
to be a Cowboys fan.
96.
96.
Sorry. Well, 95 season, 96 Super Bowl.
Tough to be a Cowboys fan.
He bought the Cowboys, won a Super Bowl in the first 5 years, won 2 more, and never won another one.
Tough. And they always have the expectation. The expectation's on them every year.
They
which
win
I do.
games, too.
They do.
They don't go down in the regular season, which is crazy for a team that's gone this long without winning a Super Bowl, that you're always picking, 15 to 30?
Yeah.
Or I guess never 30. They don't get out of the NFC. But 15 to 28 or so?
If you're a fan of the Dallas Cowboys, just kind of like if you're a fan of the Yankees, you always expect to go, and it always makes it even.
Well, that's the same. It's the same person.
What do you mean?
Fan of the Cowboys, fan of the Yankees.
Yeah,
You're
correct.
Go Lakers.
Correct. That's
you know?
true.
Yeah.
That's true.
No, yeah,
and
they got tip-off coming soon.
Lakers and, yeah.
You think Dak Prescott supporters are excited about Bronny or not really?
I think they're excited about – I think they're excited.
Well, the John Carlos Stanton home run got him through.
Here's what it is. That whole – and we're just switching back and forth topics here.
Love it.
I think what's going to happen is LeBron is going to get –
Oh, now we're just going full Bronny.
Oh, yeah, we're going to go
Okay.
first full into LeBron real quick. Bronny is going to lob up an alley-oop to LeBron. He'll dunk it. They'll high-five. Those pictures will be captured, and then Bronny will be sent back to whatever G League, D League team.
I think Bronny will just merely be sent back to the bench. LeBron's not going to have his
Do you
last name on
think
a G League
Angel
jersey.
Reese will win?
Yeah, that's fair.
Do you think
That's fair.
Do you think Angel Reese will win Comeback Player of the Year next season?
Maybe.
I think she might.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Potentially.
But Jerry Jones, no. So
What if
seriously,
Caitlin Clark fakes an injury this offseason?
But no, the problem with Jerry though, he talks a lot. I don't
He
mind.
does.
I've actually always defended Jerry. I hate when people say he's a distraction. If you talk to former players, they kind of roll their eyes at that stuff. They're like, Jerry Jones says some weird things, but like when practice starts and the kickoff of a game starts, it's like, oh man, I would have caught that kickoff return. I wanted to let it slip through my hands if it wasn't for Jerry Jones' comments on a radio show on Tuesday. That stuff I think gets overblown a bit. But my problem with Jerry is I love that he talks. I love that he's a personality, but you can't always be rah-rah guy when your team's winning, but then you get mad when you're questioned when your team's losing. I just think but again, his team, his rules, his access, everything. So
That's right.
Is what it is. But what you got?
His access everywhere, seemingly. Mm-hmm. Well, with the Jamie Foxx leaked video this summer from practice, seems like Jerry Jones is everywhere, eyes everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
He
Seeing
has,
everything.
Yeah. And the way he evaluates talent is kind of
Please
weird, too.
elaborate.
No,
Continue.
it's just.
Well, I just want you to continue with the bit.
Seems like he has information on every nook and cranny of that facility and roster.
Yeah.
I think I would love for his draft evaluations are
Yeah.
pretty wild.
No, a lot of stuff on his draft board that doesn't make it on mine, but I guess, he's been in the league for a long time, so when I do draft prep this year, I'm going to have to think about some of that stuff.
Yeah. You're vertical, you're 40,
All the measurements.
Inches. I mean,
it's vertical, all right.
Depending on the time, depending on. Never mind.
I was going to say.
Send it to break.
Well, no, I had a point before you threw in LeBron and who was the other person?
Angel Reese.
Angel Reese.
I heard.
Casey, did you bring up FCC yet? Did they win over the weekend?
Probably not.
No, they didn't play.
Oh, they didn't play.
Well, of course.
They were off?
They played last month.
That's right. Correct. Why would they play now? But continuing on with my thought, the Dallas Cowboys having that expectation of always being like, we have to win the Super Bowl. It's our year. We have a rich owner who wants to win, and then they just never do. I imagine that's one of the worst fan bases to be a part of. Just because when you have that, like the Bengals, we don't expect to win Super Bowls. We expect to have a Super Bowl caliber team, but we don't expect it, right?
Who would you rather have as your owner since 2000, Jerry or Mike Brown?
That's such a tough question.
Mike Brown's been to a Super Bowl.
Oh, no. Mike Brown, probably.
Jerry's won a lot more games.
Mike Brown, probably, right?
It's a crazy question.
I don't think you're far off. You feel in safer hands with Jerry Jones than Mike Brown, but let's be clear. I didn't realize this. When the Cowboys were not making moves in the offseason, everyone gives the Dallas Cowboys the benefit of the doubt, and they put them in the same category as like the Yankees, Dodgers, Lakers as far as how they go about spending. The Cowboys and Jerry Jones are actually, they don't spend.
Yeah.
They're always near the bottom of teams who spend in the offseason. Like, they don't go all out. He always talks about the limitations that they have with their cap space and everything. Jerry Jones is the last person I want to hear about limitations when it comes to money and how he spends it. Mike Brown, we don't like it, but we could understand it. Jerry Jones. So to me,
Mike Brown's also spent more than Jerry Jones in a window with a quarterback you believe is your franchise quarterback.
Mike Brown has built-in roadblocks that he still finds ways to overcome. In his defense, Jerry Jones creates his own. So I'm not.
Good point, Mark Fetters.
That is weird. Which owner would you rather have, Mike Brown or Jerry Jones?
Crazy question.
Because it's such a wide range of
But Jacob's right.
owner.
Mike Brown's been the more successful owner based on what the expectations were for both franchises.
Without that, Mike Brown would be more successful if you took the Bengals' success since 2000 and put it in Dallas.
Yeah, it's that's pretty crazy to think about.
Crazy. Because you would unanimously put Jerry Jones top 5 in the NFL if you don't really break it down.
Yeah,
probably Bob Kraft one.
Kraft is definitely
crazy.
One. Yeah.
But the Bengals going to a Super Bowl and losing, going to a Super Bowl, not winning it, is that better than consistently and constantly being a 500 team that's always competing for division titles and always in the hunt 500-wise?
I think if Dallas had been 2-1, it wouldn't be close. It's the fact that they haven't even been to an NFC championship game. That's why it's like, that goes back to the peak and valley conversation we always have about the Reds and MLB baseball. Would you rather have a billion chances or one run in the sun? And I know the Bengals didn't end on top, but it's a distance that the Cowboys have not been in.
And he was also being questioned why the Raiders, or why they didn't. One of the things that led to the outburst, why didn't the Cowboys try to get Devontae Adams? Why have all the teams that were in the mix to get him, were they not there?
Who's their wide receiver 2 right now? Is it Jalen Tolbert?
Yes.
Kevontae Turpin. Either way, who cares?
Not good.
Terrible, yeah.
But yes, imagine if you had CeeDee Lamb and Devontae Adams. That changes the landscape of the Cowboys' offensive attack, which is abysmal. How do you lose the way you did on Sunday if you're the Cowboys and then not try to make a move to bolster your offense or be aggressive? To the Jets' credit, the Jets lose last night, and it sounds like this deal might have been going down no matter what, based on the fact that he was already in New York
he was there
yesterday.
before we finished reading the tweet.
So, but the bottom line is, the Jets, they're aggressive right now. They're trying to make moves. They're trying to salvage this while the Cowboys sit back and make excuse after excuse. And by the way, I do think they were counting on Derrick Henry not looking as dominant as he was. I think the Cowboys and Jerry Jones were sitting back hoping that Derrick Henry started to fall off the way Zeke has over the last couple of years to justify not getting him. But man, you look at how good Derrick Henry is. Look how drastically different the Cowboys look. A three-headed monster of Dak, Derrick Henry, and CeeDee Lamb. That's a completely different animal in Dallas if you make that move.
100%. Yeah, no doubt about it.
I don't know what their plan was running the football this year anyway.
Their plan was Rico Dowdle.
Was it always Rico? Because Zeke started the year.
I think it was that they were going to do that kind of song and dance and pray Rico Dowdle broke out and took over.
Because you have to run the football a little bit now. I'm not saying you have to have Derrick Henry and run 35 times a game, but you have to be able to run the football. And coming into the year, Rico Dowdle and Zeke Elliott weren't. I knew it right away. you're signing Ezekiel Elliott, who has the explosion of a tortoise. So I don't know. I don't know what the plan was there. Just hope that Dak in the wide receiving room can torch anybody else, and that kind of has been the case, kind of a little bit.
Well, how many games has that been the case? Because they've been blown out late, forced to throw, and teams are playing sort of a prevent defense.
You're right.
A little bit of a bigger problem that I think people are somewhat glossing over when it comes to the Cowboys is, yes, they can't run the football this year, and yes, Rico Dowdle and Ezekiel Elliott isn't exactly the most talented backfield, but Tony Pollard looks pretty dang good in Tennessee.
Yeah, he does.
And he looked borderline inept last year as the lead back in Dallas.
Yeah.
There was legitimate conversations if Tajay Spears was going to win this job in Tennessee when he took over because of how bad he looked in Dallas when he got the full-time role with Ezekiel Elliott in New England. I mean, he looks really good this year.
Looks insane. He's been, honestly, the only part of that offense that's worked.
He missed time this year. He's top 20 in yards, and he has 3 touchdowns already. He's averaging 4.5 yards per carry. That's a dang good running back with an offense that is garbage. You're the only player worth a damn on that offense, and you're doing a really good job running the football, which is by far the hardest thing to do well when people are focusing on it, and they certainly are in Tennessee with the way Will Levis is playing quarterback. I think a lot of these issues with Dallas are more organizational and scheme-oriented than they are with truly just running the football, even though, I don't know, the Rico Dowdle gets the best out of any scheme, but I think he would be doing a lot better. I mean, Tony Pollard worked with Brian Callahan's system, and all due respect to Brian Callahan, I think there's a lot more talent on this Dallas offense top to bottom than there is in Tennessee.
And the Cowboys, too, when it comes to the running back position, I think they've just felt like you could plug anyone in the Cowboys.
100%.
Because you went from what? Was it DeMarco
Murray?
DeMarco Murray, you go to Zeke.
Murray was
then you get Tony Pollard, and you just felt like, man, that train will just keep on rolling. And now you have an old box car in Zeke right now that you're
every single, and I know it's early, but the Bengals are 2-4. Every single mock draft I've been seeing has the Cowboys taking a running back in round 1. And I think with the state of that roster right now, that would be the funniest thing that could possibly happen.
Oh my God.
I mean, if they take Ashton Jeanty at 18 or 20 or something like that, with the defense being the worst run defense in the history of the NFL, and Dak Prescott not having a wide receiver 2, and the offensive line's best player being 40-year-old Zach Martin, no one else really doing great, that would be peak Jerry Jones and very, very funny.
Hilarious.